what's going on? Big Chief Show. It's your boy Fred Davis, special guest host, friend of the program, just all around grade A human being. And it's only right that a Chief Show has a Raider fan as a guest co-host. All right. It would be too easy to just have two Chiefs fans on here jerking each other off, all right, about how great the Chiefs are. And look, not to say I'm not going to do that, okay? Because Lord knows, wouldn't be the first time. But anywho, glad to have you guys.
Well, I'm here to bring you down. I'm here to give you some reality check.
You're the devil's advocate
we're so
in more
good
ways than
against
one.
you guys the last few years.
You're the devil's advocate in more ways than one, Mike Babel.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah.
Remember that. Real quick, we've got Bitter Mike in the house, rocking his Raiders jersey. In case you're wondering, under my name, the Freddie D, as well as Bitter Mike. Those are our Twitter handles, as well as I'm on the IG. Mike isn't. Don't hold that against him. But in any event, look, it's only a matter of time. Mike will get on there at some point. So.
Actually, I did get on about 2 weeks ago. I said, fine, fuck it, let's do it. I got to get with the program. All right.
Okay. So Mike Babbo is now officially on IG. Mike, what's your Instagram handle?
I think it's Bitter. I think it's Bitter Mike. I think it's Bitter Mike.
Tell you what, this might be the most tech-savvy YouTube show that's out there today. So stay tuned for that. Look, we got a fun show for you guys today. As we talked about in the tease earlier, clearly we're going to get a little bit of week one recap. And it just really kind of talk a little bit about what we saw across the board. Obviously, we're going to get to what the Chiefs did. And again, this isn't going to be like some major breakdown of what Mike, and you know this, man. It's week one of the preseason, right? So it's kind of like, and in today's NFL, with things getting more abbreviated by the week and by the year as it pertains to the NFL, it's, and we're kind of accustomed to seeing it where you really don't start to see good football until week 3 or 4.
Right, because we don't have hitting like we used to in years past. We only have 3 preseason games as opposed to 4, or even in some cases 5 if you played the Hall of Fame game. You don't have really live practices, and of course these days the starters very rarely play because they know the playbook inside and out. I mean, most of the time you guys want to see who is going to play in those fringe spots. And let's face it, I mean, Brett Veach and his assistant GM, they're already scouring the waiver wire as well as their roster to see what holes they could fill and see what guys are not playing on other teams, because they have a scout, according to Brett Veach, they have a scout for every single team out there in the NFL. And so they're looking at guys that could help their team going forward. And of course, the number one objective is stay healthy. Let's not do anything crazy, right? Let's make sure we get out of the University of Missouri Southern or where they're at and get out of there healthy, right?
Yeah, and look, and not to be, and look, I get it. I mean, every NFL team has taken that tack now because, again, you can't risk getting hurt. But it just, to borrow a phrase from our friend Henry Thomas, I mean, iron sharpens iron, right? And so, these guys were playing, and not to get into the woebegone days of, the NFL from the 70s and the 80s and even the 90s to an extent, where 2-a-days was what you did. And, guys beat the crap out of each other. So in any event, look, like you said, Mike, you just want guys to stay healthy. Do you expect to see crisp football right away? No, you don't. I know the one thing that Steve Spagnuolo said going into week 1 of the preseason was, look, he wanted to see guys tackle. Pursue and tackle. And, we saw some of that. First team defense didn't look great. We'll get to that here in just a second. We'll also talk a little bit about some Chiefs headlines going on right now. Number one, Pat Mahomes had some interesting things to say. And I guess at this point, I mean, look, we're into the doldrums, so to speak, of the NFL training camp and NFL preseason. When you don't, Pat plays one series, that's all you're going to get out of him. Everybody's been watching what we've seen so far, social media wise, him hitting guys. I mean, look, and again, 7-on-7 drills, what have you, looks great. No big surprise there. So, of course, you're going to have questions about, and of course, this is more from like national media types as far as, what, legacy, money, and then, of course, Super Bowl rings. And that's obviously the big question as the Chiefs, who, the big question mark going into 2023 is, once again, year 2 removed from Tyreek Hill, you still don't have a number 1 wide receiver not named Travis Kelce. You don't have your number 1 defensive player in Chris Jones. And so even though you've been the best team in the NFL for the last 5 years, more or less, they're still poking holes. They're still finding ways to kind of ridicule this Chiefs team and figure out, okay, who's going to be different. And then, of course, Mike, as soon as this season starts on September 7th, you keep 15 upright, good things are going to happen, man.
Yeah, and if you keep them upright and you keep them on the field, it doesn't matter what the deficit is. He proved that in the Super Bowl against the Niners. He proved that in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. As long as you give him a chance.
Proved against your Raiders last regular season.
That's right. So the 17-0 deficit, big deal, no problem. Of course, they held Max Crosby every single play in the second half. I mean, you had me. So the last time I was on this show, you kind of slapped me around a little bit because I wasn't watching quarterback. Okay, all right, fine. I stuck a crowbar in my wallet. I got Netflix. I watched all of it right down to the end this morning.
Yeah.
Where I watched episode 8. And, of course, the first episode was really painful because I had to relive week 4 when the Raiders snatched defeat from the jaws of victory at Arrowhead. Or Dia Field, whatever they call it these days. Yeah. But and that was a cheap shot by Max Crosby. He gave him a little arm shove in the chest, but I think that was more frustration because he just couldn't get the Mahomes because, I'm sorry, they were holding him on every single play that I remember. But be that as it may, the Raiders have way more problems than that. They just can't stop anybody anyway. So, but you're right. As long as they keep 15 upright and as long as they get, Kadarius Toney back by week 1, which I think they will, even though he had surgery for that torn meniscus. And, of course, as long as the running back core stays healthy, Isaiah Pacheco looks as great as ever. They're going to be fine. They do need to sign Chris Jones, though. I get a little, speaking as a Raiders fan, more so as a football fan, I get a little worried when guys hold out for this long. This has to stop. We need to somehow, come to an agreement on this between Veach and Chris Jones's agent because it's getting late early, as Yogi Berra would say.
I was wondering what the hang up is, right? You got to figure there's – are the two sides – is there that much of a gulf in – because, look, it can't come down to what he's done for the team, right? Look, he's been the best player. He's been the there's no question. He's been the second best defensive tackle in the National Football League. Like that's not an argument, right? Yes, you could nitpick a little bit about some of his postseason attributes, and you could, as Henry Thomas would say, you could nitpick how sometimes he does take plays off, right? But that being said, Chris Jones is the second best defensive tackle in the National Football League, and you saw, again, albeit for a very short time, because it wasn't like he was going to play a lot even if he was under contract or even if he was in camp. You saw on Sunday how anemic that pass rush was against the New Orleans Saints. And again, I get it. It's only preseason. It's only week 1. So again, we gotta temper everything. We got to do the whole, let's just put an asterisk next to every conversation we have that pertains to week 1, because again, it is week 1 of the preseason. So let's keep that in perspective. But, I didn't see much out of Karlaftis. Okay. The rookie from K-State didn't do a whole lot. The only guy that to me really flashed, so to speak, especially from a defensive line perspective, was Danny Shelton, the 9-year veteran. Right. So, and this is a guy that's fighting to get on that football team and is fighting for his NFL life at this stage of his career. So I'm with you, Mike. It is a little concerning to some degree, but Brett Veach and Andy Reid have both said, look, we know that this guy's staying in shape. Hell, everybody across the Chiefs, brass and Pat Mahomes included have all said, look, we know Chris Jones takes care of his body. We know when he shows up to camp, he's going to be all right. But of course, hitting people's a whole different deal. That's going to take a little bit of getting used to, or at least kind of getting, muscle memory and what have you. I do think he'll be ready week 1. If he's not ready, look, if he's not signed and delivered by week 1, now we got a little bit of a concern.
Right. And really, in years past, the Chiefs have kept 10 defensive linemen and only 4 linebackers. This year, they're switching it up a little bit. They're looking to keep 9 D linemen and 5 linebackers. They may want to change up on that, especially as they look at the waiver wire and see who comes available, especially if Chris Jones is not signed and in the hopper by week 1. I mean, so they could be very, very thin at D linemen, and they may want to rethink what they're doing. So
no, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, and I'm really hoping that this thing gets done sooner rather than later. Maybe he waits till after this weekend's games to get it done. But again, the Chiefs have already said, Brett Veach has said, look, there's no trade. Doesn't expect that doesn't expect to happen. And plus, too, look, you know, and as it's been pointed out, when you traded Tyreek Hill, you did it before the draft. So you could immediately make that. I mean, again, in the last 2 years, you've drafted Sky Moore, you've drafted Rashee Rice. Right. So you don't have that luxury right now. You're not going to find there's no plug and play guy. First of all, I mean, look, you don't find a Chris Jones caliber player at this stage of the season anyway. Right. You're just not going to. So
no, you're looking for depth at that point in time. You're not looking for quality, unfortunately.
You're looking for bodies.
So, right. Yeah. And that's a problem because especially in the AFC West, because they're going to throw the ball a lot. And you know, and I know that this is way late in the season, but they do face the Bills in week 15. They do face Cincinnati in week 17. You know, they got that Thursday. So I was thinking you were saying that they are going to lose to the Chiefs at home, or excuse me, to the Broncos at home. I think they may lose to the Broncos on the road because that's a Thursday night game. It's a short week.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Yeah, you meant at Mile High or whatever the heck they call it. But at Mile High. But that could be a problem. You know, but I don't think that this is going to be too much longer before we see Chris Jones sign. I think that I'm hoping that Patrick Mahomes is talking to him behind the scenes because I know the type. I know that he wants his anchor in the defense in camp as soon as possible, and because, like he said, he wants 7 rings. You know, and to do that, he's got to get past Justin Herbert. He's got to get past Joe Burrow. He's got to get past Josh Allen. And he's not going to do that chucking the ball 55 times. He's got to have his defense in tip-top shape. And that starts and ends with Chris Jones.
You mentioned what Pat Mahomes said. He talked about this with NBC Sports. 7's a lot, but let's try this again. 7's a lot, Mahomes said, but I'll strive to get as close as I can, talking about getting to, Tom Brady's number. To win 7 Super Bowls and to be in 10 Super Bowls, it's crazy to even think about, even for me today. The other stats kind of come with it. I knew at Texas Tech, I put up a lot of stats, but didn't win games. When I got to the NFL, I knew I wanted to be a winner first, try to win Super Bowls, and give my team the best that I can. Once again, we're in the doldrums of training camp where we're going to ask really stupid questions. I mean, what do we expect Pat Mahomes to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll tell you what, somebody made a great, I think it was ESPN, the Get Up show, where somebody made the comment of even if Pat Mahomes, so they put their first 5 years up, a graphic of the first 5 years of Brady versus the first 5 years of Mahomes. Brady, through his first 5 seasons as a starter, mind you, because neither one of them started their rookie year.
Right.
Both have won. Well, Brady 230 yards passing per game through the first 5 years. 3 Super Bowls, no MVPs. Mahomes 303 yards per game passing, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, has been to 3. Just hasn't won all 3 like Tom had through his first 3. So, and I can't think of the dude that was on there with Greeny, but he said, look, even if he goes, Mahomes is already on a trajectory that even if he doesn't win 7 Super Bowls, he can still go down as the GOAT if he wins 4 or 5. And somebody made the comment, well, now you're just, you're trying to use the whole LeBron James versus MJ argument. that even though you don't have the number of titles, if your stats are better, then you're automatically the GOAT.
I mean, we got to also take a deeper dive into it, taking nothing away from the GOAT. The AFC East was
trash,
not very competitive. I mean, we could take a look at how many quarterbacks he had to face with the Dolphins, with the Jets, and with who's the other team? I'm sorry,
the Bills.
The Bills. I mean, until
but
Josh
is that
Allen
his
came
fault,
aboard.
though?
No, that's not his fault. But what I'm saying is that the road to the Super Bowl was not as tough for Tom Brady, I think, as it's going to be for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, listen, he finally beat Joe Burrow after going 0-3 against him.
True.
You know, I mean, that guy had his number for a while, and Josh Allen's not going anywhere. Justin Herbert's not going anywhere.
He was 3-0 against Pat Mahomes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's and these are top-notch quarterbacks, and of course, the rules get better and better and easier for wide receivers and for quarterbacks and stuff. But I just think that it's going to be a lot harder for Patrick Mahomes to get past that juggernaut of the AFC in the AFC than it was for Tom Brady. I mean, now Tom Brady had Peyton Manning, but they only faced each other once each year, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Unless I don't even know if they faced each other in the playoffs, but more than one time.
No, they did, because they had some memorable matchups in the playoffs.
Oh, they absolutely did. But I mean, Tom Brady also had to face a bunch of scrubs in the AFC East 6 times a year. I mean, come on. He didn't have to face Justin Herbert. I mean, and Derek Carr is not a slouch either. I mean, Derek Carr did beat the Chiefs once. I mean, then that was him. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you beat him once. only because Mahomes threw probably had the worst game of his career when he threw 2 picks. Aside from the Super Bowl against the Niners, that was a horrible 3 quarters. But anyway,
or the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah. Excuse me, against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Yeah, that was a bad outing too. But I don't begrudge Patrick Mahomes saying those things, especially when you take a look at the quarterback. That series on Netflix, what he goes through week in, week out to get his body ready to play, and especially what he went through in the AFC division matchup when he had the high ankle sprain. Those things they don't heal in a week. They heal in 5 or 6 weeks, for crying out loud.
For him to come back the way he did with that high ankle sprain, and again, it's a testament to the staff and what they were able to do. But yeah, for him to do what he did and bounce back the way he did was absolutely incredible.
But Freddie, it's also a testament to his body. I mean, he is a freak of an athlete.
He really is, man. You're right about that. And we really do forget that he's the son of a professional athlete. And that is one thing, and we've heard this, and I've talked, from doing radio shows and talking to, professional athletes time and time again. That is one of the things in NFL combines they will ask is, what family members do you have that were either in the NFL? That's number one, because then at least that obviously that's the most direct comparison. Or who have you had that have been been a professional athlete? Because Mike, I mean, it's just a different beast when you're a professional athlete. So we kind of forget that Pat Mahomes Sr. spent 10 years as a Major League Baseball pitcher in some high leverage situations. I mean, he was an everyday rotation guy, So, I mean, there's something to be said for that. He wasn't some, Johnny come lately who, and really you could argue that Pat Mahomes Sr., and this is where I'll defer to you on this, but, him pitching in the 90s into the early 2000s, that was kind of when –
the steroid era, you mean?
What's that?
You mean the steroid era?
You did have this. I mean, I wasn't even going to go there, but I was just saying, like, that's when you really started to have specialists, right? Like, that's when baseball started to move towards that from a pitching standpoint. And I mean, me and Henry talked about this. I mean, let's talk about how most there's not a lot of black baseball players, period, much less pitchers in today's baseball, and let's take it back 20, 30 years ago. So Mahomes Sr. for being able to do what he did.
Yeah, the perseverance that he displayed certainly, and he didn't pitch all of his career against the Mets. I mean, he bounced around between a couple of teams, and so that takes a lot out of you too mentally. So you have to have a lot of perseverance, a lot of inner strength to go through that, because baseball is a cold-hearted business too. I mean, one minute you're up, next minute you're down, and next thing you know, you're DFA'd and you're trying to find a place to play. You got to deal with moving your family and stuff, and it's just absolutely terrible. And so he went through it, and I'm certain that Patrick Mahomes was right there in the thick of it as a young boy, and so he got to see it all. And so he knows, seeing what his dad went through, he knows what it takes to succeed in professional sports. And the great ones, they somehow weather the storm. And we saw that in that Netflix documentary on how much adversity Patrick Mahomes went through in the postseason.
By the way, for all you baseball nerds out there, and I'm looking at you, Mike Babbo, spent 5 years with the Twins, 2 years with the Mets, 2 years with the Red Sox, had a cup of coffee with the Pirates,
yeah.
Hot minute with the Texas Rangers, and a hot minute with the Chicago Cubs. So, yeah, he was hot for his first 9 years in the league, and then the Cubs and Pittsburgh. But had a high of 50. Let's see, what was it? Tell you what, he had 2 years back to back, 53 appearances with the Mets in 2000 and 56 appearances with the Rangers in 2001.
So, yeah, it sounds like more of like a reliever than a starter, at least in.
Oh no, he was. He was a starter his first 3 years, and then went to the bullpen.
First 3 years, yeah. So, that could have been because there were 5 other guys that were better than him, and so they had to find a spot for him. So, but again, you have to adapt because it's about keeping your job, because player number 26 is ready to take your spot, and so good for him. And again, he passed that perseverance down to young Patrick Mahomes, and it's showing right now. I mean, two rings. And I don't think he's done. I really don't.
Oh, no.
Barring any injury. I mean, I get a little bit concerned about his health, because this is not the first time. I mean, the playoffs, that divisional playoffs, is not the first time that he got hurt. I remember that quarterback sneak. I think it was in 2021.
Yeah, quarterback sneak, and I think it was 2019, 2020, where he dislocated his kneecap. That was kind of a freak deal. They haven't run a quarterback sneak with him since. And then he had that concussion against the Browns in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And then, of course, but the thing of it is, I mean, look at those 3 injuries, right? The kneecap was a freak deal, right? I mean, we haven't heard of a quarterback, losing his kneecap in a quarterback sneak since. The concussion, I mean, that's going to happen. It's the NFL.
Right.
And then, it was just that ankles, defensive guy, yanks on that ankle and falls on it. So
he rolled it. And then, of course, in the Super Bowl, I think he aggravated it, right?
He tweaked it a little bit right before the half. And then, of course, came out and,
it balled out.
Did Pat Mahomes type things. All right, real quick. Justin Ross back at practice today. They didn't say exactly what the whole situation was. They did say that essentially it's a lower extremity. He was wearing a sleeve on his left leg underneath his football pants today when he came out to practice, and had a nice catch. So it looks like all is right in the world there. You do, as you know, keep a little bit of a – I mean, it's kind of – you're watching it with bated breath a little bit when it's Justin Ross, just considering that it is the the injuries his kids had.
Yeah,
you're just worried. I mean, and look, it's one of those deals where you, like I said, you're holding your breath every time you hear that this guy might get hurt, and it's only happened once so far. And I think, to your point, Mike, anytime you see that somebody got carted off the field, your immediate thought is, "Oh my God,
here we go again."
But apparently, it's a green mile from the training camp field to the medical facility over there at Missouri Western. So, even Mike Babbo would probably get carted off the field in the event of a lower extremity injury. So Mike gets carted back to his bedroom after this show's over, in fact.
That's right. I'm mentally spent.
That's right. He's a gamer, though, folks. He's a gamer. Again, we already mentioned no developments with Chris Jones. And just real quick, my number one takeaway, and I'm going to give you 3 just because that's what I do, and I've kind of already touched on this a little bit. The pass rush was non-existent on Sunday. The only thing I really saw, like I said, Danny Shelton made a play. And then, you got your little push here, a little push there in the third and fourth quarter, but nobody cares because most of those guys are going to be bouncers and PE teachers pretty soon. Noah Gray made some nice catches. And again, I'm a big Noah Gray guy.
They're going to need him because Travis Kelce isn't getting any younger.
He's not, but I'll tell you what, he would be the first player, if he goes for 1,000 yards this season, he'd be the first player tight end since 1965 to go for over 1,000 yards over the age of 33 years old. Fingers crossed. And then my third takeaway, the offensive line. For the obviously the best position group with Houston, Texas. Best position group, the Kansas City Chiefs is the quarterback group because of number 15. But if you remove him from the equation, the number one position group for your Kansas City Chiefs is by far, to me, the offensive line. That offensive line, I think, goes too deep, dadgum near at every position along that line. Buechele looked good. Gabbert, you know what? You can't go wrong when you got a veteran backup like a Blaine Gabbert. He's been there before. Hell, he backed up Tom Brady for 3 years. He's been in dadgum every system you can absolutely think of. So, again, Buechele, and now that you can keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster, you feel good about that. But that offensive line, Donovan Smith didn't look bad. Twan Taylor, why everybody's kind of like in a wait-and-see mode with Twan Taylor. Twan Taylor's been one of the best right tackles in football with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Why there was any question mark about, well, how's he going to adjust in Kansas City? Last I checked, the right side in Kansas City is the same right side as it is in Jacksonville. Okay? Again,
right.
maybe maybe they do things differently in Florida. We know they do. Okay. But last I checked, the right's still the right and the left's still the left. So why there's this idea of, well, what's Twan Taylor going to look like? He's going to look like the best fucking right tackle in football. That's what he's going to look like. So, and when you got, who's our boy? Andy Heck, the offensive line coach, who's by far one of the best offensive line coaches in football. Donovan Smith gives me a slight pause at left tackle, just a little bit, but he had a kind of a bad year last year. He was a salary cap casualty. We'll see what happens. All right. Last but not least, before we get into over-unders, and then we'll bid you adieu, we are working on a couple interviews here on the Big Chief Show. Obviously, some former Chiefs, but we've got one guy who I'm not going to we are circumlocuting a date and time to get him on the show. I am not going to say who it is. Obviously, I've told my boy Mike Babbo about who it is, but we will not make an announcement until I have a hard and fast time and date when we are going to have him on the show. But right now we're at, let's put it this way. Here's the tease I'll give Mike Babbo. If we're on the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line and we need to punch this thing in, he's as good as any Kansas City Chief in the history of Kansas City Chiefs to give that rock to.
Let me tell you, he's not a dream to watch. That's for sure. If I'm a Raiders fan.
Hey now. So we'll have that, and we'll tweet that out here pretty soon. Like I said, once we confirm that. Last thing, real quick, Denver just going around the AFC West. Not a great start from our boy Russell Wilson. He did finish strong. Again, it's a lot of football left, but I don't know, Mike. I don't care one way or the other. I like Russell Wilson, even though he's a goofy dude. But you don't want to see a guy just completely fall on his face. And when's the last time you saw? Look, if he has another season like he had last year, which I find it hard to believe he's going to play as poorly as he did last year with Sean Payton at the helm. The only reason he would play that bad, in my estimation, Mike Babbo, is if he's just fallen off a cliff and just isn't that guy anymore.
Well, he's got 2 things going for him. New head coach in Sean Payton, who's an offensive genius. And number 2, Devontae Freeman's coming back. Right?
Say that again.
His running back's coming back.
Oh yeah, no. Javonte Williams is supposed to play.
Devontae Williams. Excuse me, not Devontae Freeman. Devontae Williams. He's coming back, and he can be a force. So he can give him some blow, free up that offense a little bit, so it's a lot less one-dimensional. And of course, they still have.
He's going to give him some blow or give him a blow, because I think
a blow.
I want to say this ain't the '80s NBA, Mike. Okay, this is not the '80s NBA. Let's get that straight right now. Okay, I don't know what kind of football you've been watching. I know the Raiders like to do things a little, On the edge.
But no, I mean, Devontae Williams, by all accounts, he's healthy. He's ready to go. And that will help out a ton. But I really think that Sean Payton, who knows how to run a football team, he knows how to call offensive plays. I mean, let's face it. I mean, he had Drew Brees and not much else in his offense because either his wide receiver was holding out or his running back was getting suspended. So I think with that defense, anything can happen. So I'm hoping, aside from week one, that when they play the Raiders, that he looks a lot better than he did last year because it was just a lot. I mean, it was terrible. I mean,
his personal development coach died. That Trevor Moawad, he died. He had a quarterback coach. He had his own parking spot, like next to the coaches. He had his own office. Well, which I guess having his own parking spot really isn't that big. I mean, I'm sure Pat Mahomes has a parking spot. But he had his own office, which is weird.
Why does a quarterback need an office?
What is his office look? He's got a picture of his family in there. I mean, does he have one of those little? I mean, is there a computer in there that he sits at? Is it a cubicle? Is it a desk? I mean, what is?
Every team needs a quarterback room, and that's it. That's it. All you need is a quarterback room, and you are there as a unit. Okay, everybody goes as a unit. I mean, this isn't basketball where you can just feed the rock to number 23 or number 6 and just feed the hot hand. No, this is 53 guys pulling on the same rope, all in the same direction. And you can't have haves and have-nots. Doesn't work that way.
Which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, his quarterback coach was a quarterback at KU for a hot minute. So, the football powerhouse that is the Kansas Jayhawks.
The Jayhawks, yeah.
Huh? Man, don't be sleeping on our Jayhawks, man. Have you seen what our arena? They just.
Hey, they almost beat OU. They should have beat OU, right, last year?
No, we got housed by OU because we gave up 700 yards of offense, bro.
Well, wait a minute. There was another team that
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. Right.
I mean, I shouldn't say
it was in Lawrence where they kept on. It's like, wait a minute, where are you people? And then all of a sudden, all the students started showing up, and then they gave up the game.
No, man, you gave up 700 yards to Oklahoma last year. That was an Oklahoma team that wasn't very good either.
No, I think that was the last.
Yeah, that was bad news. We do have a $300 million renovation coming up that we're pretty excited about. So, I mean, KU football is legit right now, dude. Don't sleep on my Jayhawks. All right, I'm not crazy about the new uniform, but
hey, you brought them up, not me. But we'll see how the Big 12's. I mean, the Big 12 they don't have UT anymore, of course. So
after this year, we still got them for one more year.
That's right. After one more year,
we got one more year left. Okay. Last thing, and then we're gonna go rapid fire. I want to shout out we got 102 viewers out there listening. Welcome to the program, guys. Glad to have you guys on board.
Thank you.
Enter a comment if you feel like it. He's Bitter Mike. Let's just recap or just reset the show real quick. I'm Fred Davis. That's Bitter Mike Babbo, longtime Raider fan. You're wondering to yourself, or if you're watching the show for the first time, you're saying to yourself, well, I thought I tuned in to a Chiefs show on Chiefs Studios. But no, you did. You did, and we want to thank you for that. But what Chiefs show do you know that has a Raider fan as the co-host? Okay, you don't know one. All right, so remember that, and you're going to get pure, unbiased opinion and analysis from one bit. He's wearing a fucking Kenny Stabler jersey, for Christ's sake, people. I mean, come on, what does that tell you? Tell you?
Know thy enemy. That's what you got to do. I mean, the best way you
keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
That's right. Huh? It's the other way around, but it's okay. Yeah, but you still have to keep your enemies close. Yeah.
See? He picked me up. Huh? Speaking of, you didn't even look. This tells you how, for the folks watching, and again, we thank all of you for tuning in. This lets you know how just angst-ridden of a fan Mike Babbo is. He didn't even watch the Raiders' first preseason.
No, some Yehu Vic Tafur, the beat writer for the Raiders on The Athletic, tweets after the game, after they pummeled the Niners, the Trey Lance-led Niners 34-7. Hey, Josh McDaniels is 5-0 in the preseason as Raiders head coach. I said, yeah, 5-0 in the preseason, 6-11 when it matters. Okay, I don't care.
That is the most skinniest kid at fat camp stat you could ever tout.
I do not care. Yeah, so they sacked him like 3 or 4 times. They caused a couple of turnovers. But if you take a look at it, I mean, they really also gave up a bunch of deep balls too. So I watched the highlights. I didn't waste my time with that game because I'm tired of the Pollyanna bullshit in training camp from the Raider beat writers is saying, oh, it's different this time. They're faster. They're better. Oh, they're flying around the ball. F you. You know what? Show it to me in Denver. Yeah, I'm not going to have it. Don't embarrass yourself against Kansas City, okay? Don't blow a 17-0 lead. Don't let them do the wheel around the rosy, what the hell it was the last week of the season.
Yeah.
You know, what was that, the Pokemon thing?
The ring around the rosy play.
Ring around the rosy play. You know, I mean, they were playing with you like a freaking cat playing with a dead mouse. It was ridiculous in your home park. Okay? How about if you be not suck enough where the road team outnumber the Oakland Raider fans at Allegiant Field? That's what I want to see. Okay?
Tell them how you feel,
you know,
Mike. Well,
shit. I mean, how I feel is that my bar is high. I wear this guy's jersey because
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Kenny Stabler, who should have been in the Hall of Fame before he died, assholes. But I mean, I wear him, you know, because that's what I grew up on. Cliff Branch, Fred Biletnikoff, Otis Sistrunk, Mark Van Even, those
Warren
guys.
Wells, pride of Beaumont, Texas.
Exactly, pride of Beaumont, Texas. Hell, Carl Weathers was the linebacker for the Raiders, right? I mean, and so it's just like, oh, hey, we're 8-8.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. That's why. I mean, so I inject a little reality into this for Raider Nation.
Well, we got time. All right, let's do some over-unders here real quick.
Let's do it.
We're going to save the AFC, and, of course, we're going to save the Chiefs. We'll do the Chiefs. We'll break their schedule down here in the next couple of weeks, probably leading up to the first game of the season. But we're not going to do that yet. So we'll just do NFC stuff right now. A couple over-unders, and we'll get this out of the way first and foremost. Obviously, look, the Chiefs are the leaders in the clubhouse with the over-under of 11.5. So let's just roll down this real quick. The Eagles, over-under 11.5. Okay, they're also in the same boat as the Chiefs. The NFC East is playing the AFC East and the NFC West this year, right? So that's not that's no easy feat.
Right. I'm thinking under. Also, I really think that Eric Bieniemy is going to do a much better job. He's going to kick that Washington offense in the ass, and he's got them playing mean, and he's got them playing discipline. So they're going to face them twice. Those games are going to be tough. So the NFC West is not going to be a duck walk. That's for sure.
So you're going under on the Eagles?
I'm going under. I'm going under
as well. I'm going under as well for everything you just said. I'm going to go ahead and steal every take you just made. I like what the Commanders are doing. This is a huge moment. Look, this is a career-defining moment for Eric Bieniemy. Now, is he kind of in a tough spot just for the simple fact that it's still Sam Howell, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this guy, we laud him for what he did in Kansas City, whatever that was. And Pat Mahomes has already come out and said, look, he's helped make me the player that I am, which is and I don't think Pat Mahomes is the kind of guy to just make up shit for the sake of making it up. I mean, I don't think there's any question. You can still have disagreements with people, but still get the most out of them, right? And I think that's just what makes a great relationship. You're not going to be on the same page every single time. It's how do you compromise and how do you learn to grow from one another? And we know for a fact that there were times that it was very contentious between. I mean, hell, you saw it. You saw it on TV, for crying out loud, where it got contentious between EB and Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, look, you went to 5 AFC championships. You went to 3 Super Bowls. You won 2 of them. Say what you want about whether it was Andy Reid. Say what you want whether it was Matt Nagy or whoever, Mike Kafka or whatever. EB had a big role in that. Big role in that, and the only way that dude was going to be able to kind of plant his flag and get out of the because he's always going to be black. All right, that's not changing anytime soon. All right, I mean, and look, if we don't think there's a racial component in it, we'd be silly not. I mean, I don't think that's the whole reason, but I definitely think that's a aspect, because you don't see an offensive coordinator. I mean, look, how can the offensive and defensive coordinator of the Eagles both get a head coaching job immediately after a Super Bowl run, whereas Eric Bieniemy, and look, we've heard stories that Eric Bieniemy's not the best interviewer in the world. I've told the story time and time again where allegedly when he interviewed for the Texans job a couple of years ago, he was eating snacks while on Zoom. Okay. Look, I don't care if you're applying for an accounting role. Okay. You don't eat snacks during the Zoom. Okay. And again, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I heard that from a very credible source. You just, come on, AB, you got to be better than that. And let's call it what it is too. He was in a tough spot because, you're preparing for the playoffs. So you got a very finite window in which to interview. So anyway, all that being said, Mike Babbo, I'm with you. I like the Commanders, whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days. You've got the NFC West could be sneaky good. And I don't want to say sneaky good, but sneaky competitive. I guess we'll see. But at the end of the day, Arizona's probably going to suck for most of the season. The Rams are going to be, I don't know, you're going to have a healthy Matt Stafford, but they're still a weird bunch. Okay. Yeah. Seattle, though, is going to be tough. Seattle's one of those Seattle and Detroit are kind of that same. I don't think Seattle's getting quite the buzz that the Lions are, but that's a team that I don't think anybody would be surprised if they usurped the 49ers in the NFC West. So tell you all that to tell you this, we both take the under on 11.5 wins for Philly. Let's stick with the that vibe, and we're going to go to the San Francisco 49ers. They're at 10.5, okay? NFC West has the AFC North and the AFC East. I'm going to go under on that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with you there because Brock Purdy may have a hangover. It all rests on the health of Christian McCaffrey and the health of Deebo Samuel as well. And if Nick Bosa returns, and it anchors that defense. Their defense is really, really solid, but they need him creating a bunch of havoc and taking on the double teams for certain. Well, not the double teams, but he's making people miss and, of course, getting his sacks. Brock Purdy came on the scene. What did he win? Like 8 games in a row, something insane like that. He set a record. Yeah. But you saw what happens with their team when he gets hurt, and that was a pretty serious injury that he suffered. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he bounces back from that as well. So I'm with you, Fred. I think the under on that 10.5 is the right call.
All right. So you like the under as well, and the only thing I'm going to say is this. We saw when he got hurt. Now, granted, you had Josh Johnson, who's been, I think he's been in the league. I think he's your age, for crying out loud. So you do have a Trey Lance and you do have a Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's and dare I say, is the more the more capable guy in that group. Trey Lance, and we'll save this conversation. You and I touched on it briefly before the show started. Trey Lance is trending towards bust category, right? Like dude is a legit bust at this point, and let's put it this way, he's about 80% of the way of being a bust. I think at this point you would actually probably play Sam Darnold over Trey Lance. So I'm with you on that. Great. Dallas 10
even
10 on the dot, my friend.
I'm gonna go over. I think, I think Dak's got a lot to prove. Mike Holmes got a lot to prove. Tony Pollard finally gets the rock full time, and that defense with Trayvon Diggs is that can be I think the last quarter of the season, last third of the season, they were playing as well as anybody defensively. So I'm gonna go over. I think they could end up 11-6. Remember, we have a 17th game. So
that's just it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I could, it's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, what did I think the Cowboys were going to do? And I said, they're going to go 10-7 and Dak's going to shit the bed in the playoffs. And that's literally what I think. So I'm going to call it a push.
Okay.
I'm calling it a push.
Didn't know that was an option, but I'll just go ahead and stick my neck out and say over.
Well, anyway. You know what? Look, I will move the goalposts as I go along. Look, if you want to, hey, you know what?
We
Raider
have that
fan,
right.
If you want to go ahead and call it a push, you're more than welcome to as well.
Hey, I'm a Raiders fan. The goalpost keeps on getting moved anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You're used to it.
I'm used to it.
I will say this: if I had to, if we're gonna, for the sake of this conversation, Mike Babbo, I would say over.
Okay. All right,
I would say over. Just for the simple fact that, look, you've got the AFC East, which, although, you know what, now that you mention it, man, I could see that. I mean, the AFC East is going to be tough. Although I would say, I like them over, when you think about it, just real quick, when you look at the Dallas schedule, the Jets are at home they've got the Jets at home in week 2. They're at Arizona. That's a win. They've got New England at home.
That's a win.
That's a dub, right?
Yeah.
You're at San Francisco. You're at the Chargers going into week 7. And then
they play the Niners tough. They can play the Niners tough year in, year out.
Dude, they should have beat the Niners if fucking Dak doesn't, piss down his leg.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. And look, I was talking to my boy Chad Martin from Core 4 Roofing. Go to core4roofing.com if you want to know more about how we can get a roof taken care of for you today. But he said, because he's a Dallas guy, and he's not a die-in-the-wool Dallas fan by any means, but being in Dallas the last couple of days, and so he said, why are people getting on Dak so much? And I said, look, I'll tell you why people are getting on Dak so much, because for the simple fact that, and I told him this, and he laughed at me. I said, look, Dak is the black Kirk Cousins, okay?
Yeah.
And Kirk is the white Dak Prescott, okay? They're the same guy. You love him in the regular season, but when shit gets thick, all right, can you count on that guy to make the play? And I'm not convinced you can do it with either guy. And I know after watching quarterback, look, would you want Kirk Cousins marrying your daughter? Yes, you would.
Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah. Would anybody be surprised if Kirk was leading a mega church after his football career? Probably not. Okay? Nope. Dak Prescott, all right? Super nice guy. Hell, he might have been, I could see him doing OJ type stuff before the career, before the career took a left. I could see him doing a Hertz commercial. I could see him in Naked Gun redos. Okay?
He does have the charisma for it, that's for sure.
Look,
I mean, aside from that whole, Bronco.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If people forget, before OJ murdered his wife, everybody loved OJ.
Allegedly. Oh, wait, that's true.
Hold on a second.
That's true. A civil court did find him liable for the death of
OJ.
Ron.
OJ karma's real. My goodness.
It is.
Swing this down. Dear God. Don't ever compare Dak Prescott to OJ Simpson.
No, but the problem, you said it right. I mean, can he make the right read? Can he make the right audible? And can he make the right throw? Sometimes he acts like he's Brett Favre and he tries to thread the needle, or make a throw that's just not there. Or sometimes he's thrown to spots that's like, where the heck is this? Where is this going? And so he's got a lot on the line. But I just think that now with Tony Pollard, they don't have to worry about Zeke Elliott, getting his touches because he's the he's the elder statesman. Now he's gone. He's moved off to New England. God bless him. Good luck. Hey, now let's drive the Ferrari. Let's take the cuffs off, of CeeDee Lamb. Let's get him in space because he's fantastic. And let's let that offense do what it can do, and let the defense be just good enough to get them at least into the playoffs. But I still think, I know the AFC East is going to be tough, but I still think that they can beat some pretty tough teams in the NFC. I really do think they can beat the Niners in San Francisco.
Okie dokie. All right, moving on. All right, we'll start rapid firing through these because you and I could do a lengthy breakdown of everybody that's left. All right, and we're gonna start getting into some interesting teams here too. Detroit 9.5. I've already got them as the over. I'm taking the over all day. 10-win team right there.
Yeah, you know what? Only because no more Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I like what I've seen out of Jordan Love. His progression. I'm just not there yet, and I still think Dan Campbell's got them playing mean and nasty. No Jamal Williams, no more DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, you're fine.
They got that rookie Gibbs, I believe. No,
yeah, they got the kid from UT. They're gonna be not from UT, but from Bama. So you're going over?
Yeah, I'm going over. I'll go over.
Perfect. All right. Let's see here. New Orleans 9.5.
Under.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
They should be over. I just not there yet because a new quarterback in a new system. We'll see.
Tell you what, you got me looking real quick.
And Kamara's out for what? 3 games, right?
Here's the thing, though. Here's what I'm going to say. Carolina, I'm not convinced of this year. You got a rookie quarterback, and I still think Bryce Young looked underwhelming. But again,
New Orleans could easily go 5-1 in the division. They could.
Here's the deal. They start off Tennessee at home, at Carolina, at Green Bay, home to Tampa Bay, at New England. Hell, they don't have a bye week until week 11. At New England, at Houston, home to Jacksonville, at Indy, Chicago, Minnesota. I see 1, 2.
I see 3 losses, I think. 2
3,
for sure.
4, 5, 6. Look, I'm telling you, I'm going over.
Okay, all right.
I'm going over. Because
maybe I'm just being knee-jerk here.
Look, this is the Derek
and this
Carr.
This is not because I hate Derek Carr.
I
love Derek Carr. Derek Carr was not the problem, okay? He wasn't the solution, but he definitely wasn't the problem in there. I mean, again,
that's what I'm saying. I think
how bad their defense was over the career.
You've got a decent defense.
Yes.
Okay. You've got a decent offensive line. You've got Alvin Kamara, who, even though he's out the first 3 games, I mean, look, you can beat Tennessee. You can beat Tennessee, sure. Carolina, and Green Bay without it, okay?
Right.
And even if you go 2-1 during that stretch, you're okay. But anyway, I like that. All right, Seattle, 9 games.
Let's go over.
Ooh, okay.
Gino's got the keys. He's got
I'm not mad at you for that. I'm gonna go over as well. What did we say? The NFC West is playing the AFC North. Dude, that's rough though. That could be a 9-8 wins that division.
Lamar Jackson did his offensive? Did they improve his offense? The number of offensive weapons he has. I mean really, and their defense. Their defense is really, really struggling. I mean, they really struggled down the stretch. They couldn't stop anybody. Now, Pittsburgh's a different story. They got the best offensive line in pro football. Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris is probably one of the most underrated backs. And even with his injuries, he was still 5th in the league in touches with 313. So I still
look, and you got to play the NFC East.
I'm not worried about that because you know what? Seattle's still a tough place to play, especially come November.
They are. All right. So you and I are both over on that. All right. Atlanta 8.5.
No, under.
They're a chic pick. They're a chic pick to win the NFC South.
Why?
Just the number of weapons they have on that offense, if they can figure it out. And look, Desmond Ridder, man.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
yeah. Calvin Ridley, yeah.
People kind of like Arthur Smith. And remember, this team was in playoff contention, and you just watched quarterback before Marcus Mariota decided to, quit on the team.
Knee injury.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Atlanta to go 9-8. I'm going over.
I'm going under.
Because
our first disagreement.
Because look, man, it's like you said. That extra game is the great equalizer now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? 8-8's one thing. 9-8, I can live with that. All right, we'll start winding this thing down. Minnesota 8.5.
Over, only because Aaron Rodgers is no longer there to beat him up. Yeah, but I mean, they're missing Dalvin Cook, so
I could see.
You know what? You know, for all the crap we give Kirk Cousins and the fact that he wears his wedding ring on the field, you know, he had a great season.
You're just feeling. Look, you just watched quarterback. You're feeling good about the guy. That's the only reason you're saying any of this. If you hadn't watched quarterback, you'd fucking say under and wouldn't miss a fucking beat.
Hey, I hate the Vikings. I know I hate the Vikings, but you know, but it starts and ends. It starts and ends with the QB. But yeah, I mean, their defense.
Look, you'd be ranting right now about how much you hate Minnesota.
Oh, I hate them.
You hadn't just got done finished watching quarterback. That's the only reason you're pausing it all.
I'm throwing money out there, so
That's
I got
it.
I got to bet with. I got to bet with my.
Only because I can see them going 9-8.
Well, who are they? Real quick. Who are they playing? What division are they playing?
The NFC North is playing the AFC West and the NFC South.
Okay, so they cancel each other out, right?
Well, but really, when you think about, look, when we hear AFC West, it's like, all right, you got the Chiefs, but you know the other three are a crapshoot.
They are.
You know,
I'm
going to say
Chargers
over.
Are Jekyll and Hyde.
I'm going to say over just because I like Kevin O'Connell, and you know you still got Justin Jefferson over there. Chicago 8.5.
No, God no. He's got no offensive line to speak of. He's got 10 tight ends and no wide receivers aside from Darnell Mooney.
See, I'm saying over with Chicago.
8.5?
Yeah, I see 9-8. I think 9-8. Look, I could see Detroit going 10-7, 9-8, 9-8, and then Green Bay 6-11. Nice segue there, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah.
7.5.
Oh, under, but I don't think they're going to go 6-11. I think they go 7-10.
6-11, 7-10.
I shoehorned in that one.
Exactly. I like what you did there. The Giants 7.5.
Saquon's in the house. They got no wide receiver course to speak of that I can remember. I mean, Matt Jones got all that money. 7.5.
I'm going to say over just because I can see it going 8 and 9.
8 and 9, yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of 8 and 9, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So are you going over as well?
Yeah, over. All
right. Washington, 6.5.
Over.
You and I
Hell, they may make the playoffs.
That's my hot pick. I'm with you 110% on that. Rams, 6.5. And remember, the NFC West is playing the AFC North and the NFC East.
Under. I think the Rams are a fraud.
I'm kind of with you.
I think their Super Bowl was. I mean, they did the Red Sea parted for them to win the Super Bowl. I mean,
everything.
Cincinnati
the Chiefs shitting themselves in the AFC Championship is what won that Rams Super Bowl. Bucks 6.5. I'm going under.
Under. They're a mess.
They are a mess. And if Baker Mayfield's
they got Rashad White. I mean, they got a decent core of running backs, right? Led by Rashad White, the kid from Arizona State. But I mean,
but Rashad White can't throw the football. Arizona 4.5. Last but not least,
I think I'm going to go over, but only because they're going to win 5 games.
I'm going under because I think they're terrible.
They are terrible, and I hope they beat it. I mean, you know, the Oompa Loompa is a coach killer. You know.
So here we go. You and I are both in agreement on Philly and the San Francisco 49ers. We both have them going under. We both have Dallas going over, although I say it's a push. Detroit over. You and I are both in agreement on that. You've got New Orleans going under. I've got them going over 9.5 wins. You and I are both in agreement on Seattle and Minnesota going over their wins of 9 and 8.5 respectively. You say under on Atlanta 8.5. I say over. We disagree on Chicago. I've got them going over 8.5 wins. You've got them going under. We're both in agreement on Green Bay under 7.5. And we closed out Giants, Redskins, Rams, Bucks. We all are in agreement over, under. You think the Arizona Cardinals are going to win more than 4.5 games. I say not so fast, my friend. Mike Babbo, that was one of the quickest hours we've ever done. Okay?
Always.
Time flies when we're having fun, as we always do. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter as well, @TheFreddieD, @TheBitterMike. Tune in on Sunday. We'll have another show, and obviously we'll kind of recap week 2 of the preseason as well. And then, of course, next Wednesday, we are, like I said, efforting for some Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to, again, continue to sprinkle that in throughout the season as well. We're very excited about that, and you should be too. Mike Babbo, always a pleasure having you on. Fantastic stuff from you as always. Shout out to our boy Taylor Bell, the creator and founder of Chief Studios, one of the best in the business. So make sure you give him a follow at Chief Studios YouTube, as well as at eSIM Studios as well. When it comes to phones, when it comes to technology, nobody does it better than my boy Taylor Bell. Follow him today. And he does a great show with Coop from the Baltimore Ravens channel as well. So make sure you give them a listen to as well. For the one, the only Mike Babbo, I'm still that dude, Freddie D. The Chiefs Nation, Raider Nation, NFL Nation, and H-Town. You know we love you.
See ya.
Take care.